人生は羽のように敬語でおうが、義務は山のように重いです。これは武士の鎧の衣装を作る方法である。
The original samurai armor was made out of leather that was coated with lacquer to waterproof it and strengthen it and protect it from the elements. You can make replica armor out of cardboard. The best kind of cardboard is the single layer, like a pizza box. That works better than the double corrugated layer like cardboard boxes. Another thing you can use is craft foam. This is easy to shape, it's easy to cut. The problem with craft foam and also cardboard that I ran into was that even if you coat it with Mod Podge or watered down Elmer's, it doesn't take paint all that well, so you don't get that really high glossy look like samurai armor had. So what I'm going to use for my suit is one of my old favorites, and that's just plastic for sale signs. So what I'm going to do is take some poster board and cut it into strips and tape those all together and fit everything on me until everything is the size that I want it to be, and then I'm going to duplicate all of those strips out of plastic for sale sign. So here's what I've got. This is the front chest armor. It fits like this, and what I've done is cut strips. These on the body armor, the strips are about 2.5 inches wide, and on the shoulder pieces and the thigh pieces they're about 2 inches wide. I've cut all the strips that I'm going to need. I've temporarily taped them together down along the back, and the next step is going to be to punch all the holes that I'm going to need to lace all these pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The original Japanese armor was laced together with silk cord, which is really light but also really strong. Unfortunately, it's really expensive and it's hard to find, so you're probably not going to be able to do that. But you do have a couple of different options for lacing your armor together. If you're on a budget, one thing you can use is plain old ordinary yarn. You can find this in any craft store. This is 100 yards and it cost me I think $6. If you can find it, try to get the extra thick yarn, which is about 1/8 of an inch across, because the wider your lacing is, the better it's going to look and the less of it you're going to need. So this is an option if you're on a budget. Some people use shoelaces, and that works. You're going to need a lot of it. But what I'm going to use is parachute cord, and I found these in a Michael's craft store. They're not cheap. These are, I think, $3 a bundle, and you're going to need a lot of these, at least 25 or 30 bundles. I have 3 different colors because I'm going to have multicolored parts to my armor, so I have red, orange, and yellow. If you want to, you can do it all in one color, but I just want a little bit more decoration, so I'm going to use different colors. But you're going to need a lot of this, and this is probably going to be your biggest expense in making the Japanese armor. So now that I've cut the strips I'm going to need and painted them, it's time to start lacing them together, and I've already started to do that. This is the upper back piece, so I've already laced 3 rows of it. I have one more row to do, and I'm going to show you how to lace this because the process is the same for all the pieces. The only thing that's going to change is the distance between each row of lacing, because the closer they are together, the more the lacing covers. So if you want mostly the armor to be seen, then you're going to put the rows pretty wide apart, and if you want mostly the lacing to be seen, then you're going to put the rows close together. So since this is the back piece and nobody's going to see it, I just made the pieces, the strips far apart so that there's less of them and it takes less time to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm using yarn to lace the back piece because no one's going to see it, so it doesn't have to be very fancy. But whatever you're using, whether it's parachute cord or shoelace or yarn, the process is the same. So the first thing you're going to do is measure out a piece long enough to fit all through all the holes that you've cut in here, and then cut that off. Now the pattern for the holes is the same for each strip, no matter what part you're making. They're all laced the same way. So what you're going to do is put 3 pairs of holes at the top edge, one below the other, and 1 pair of holes at the bottom edge. Make sure they're all in a straight line, and make sure that all the holes on each strip line up perfectly in a straight line all the way down, and that's how you lace everything together. The ends have a tendency to fray while you're weaving it in and out, so what I do to prevent that is to take a very small piece of masking tape and wrap that around the end of the yarn to make a little short stiff section that acts sort of like a sewing needle, and I do that for each end. So the first thing you're going to do is take each end of your yarn and put it through the top pair of holes, the one at the top edge, and then pull both ends through so that the length is even. Now what you're going to do is cross them and feed them back through the second pair of holes. Pull them nice and tight. And then you're going to run it across the back and out through the third pair of holes. Pull that tight. And then feed it down through the pair of holes at the bottom edge of your plate. And then pull that tight. And what that leaves you with is an X at the top of your plate, and it should look sort of like a little square. You want to keep the yarn as close together as you can, and then 2 bars underneath that. Then what you want to do is feed each end of your yarn through the first pair of holes in the next plate from underneath, so that it comes out the front, and then put that tight. Now remember that the plate on the bottom overlaps the plate above it, and then you're going to cross them again, put them through the second pair of holes, and then out the third pair of holes. Pull that tight, put it down through the bottom pair of holes. And that's the process. You just keep repeating the same thing all the way down as far as you need to go to stitch all the plates together. And once you've threaded the whole thing through and reached your bottom plate, what you're going to do is flip it over and tie a knot. And then trim it off. So this is the finished plate. Now you can see the pattern of crosses and bars, cross and bar, cross and bar. So the basic process of making the armor is to first make all the pieces. So we have the back piece, the abdomen plate, the shoulder plates, the hip protectors, the arm guards, the shin guards. Make all those the same. They're all made out of strips that are laced together. And then after that you're going to lace all the pieces together. So what I'm going to do is lace the bottom of this upper back piece to the back abdomen piece, and I'm going to do that by just continuing these lines of lacing by putting new lacing through here and go right down the abdomen plate. Just continue this line all the way down to the bottom and then finish it off with another decorative layer like this one. And that's the basic process of putting the armor together. So this is the finished body armor. All the parts are done. You can see that I left the back kind of plain looking, and I did a lot more decoration on the front with the lacing. So this is the chest armor. These are the thigh protectors. There are 3 of these that dangle down in the front. And these are the shoulder and upper arm protectors. And these little pieces connect the front to the back, and the shoulder pieces hang off of those. So it turned out pretty good. This is the thigh armor. There are 2 pieces to this. And this ties around your waist at the top, and it hangs down to just above your knee. And the way I made it was pretty simple. I just took 2 pieces of cloth, cut them into rectangles. I used gold colored duct tape to make a border all the way around, and I used duct tape to make it a little bit stiff so it doesn't flop around a whole lot and sort of holds its shape. And attached some string to the back so I can tie it around my waist. Then I took some plastic for sale sign and cut out a whole bunch of these little square pieces of armor, painted them all black, and just glued them onto the cloth. So those are pretty easy to make. There are a couple more armor pieces that you're going to need. You're going to need 2 shin guards, and the way I made these was to make 3 strips, cut them to shape, lace them together on the edges, and then attach some elastic strips to the back with Velcro, and that's how I put them on. You're going to need forearm armor, and there are actually 2 pieces to this. There's the plate that covers the back of your forearm, and this little round plate covers the back of your hand. And this is made the same way as the shin guards. There are 3 strips that lace together at the edges. It's got elastic bands and Velcro to hold it on. And on the bottom of the hand piece, I put a little elastic loop that fits over my finger, and that helps to keep it in place so it doesn't slide up and down. For your feet, you're going to need to find some sandal socks, and those have these little split toes. They're made for sandals, but Japanese call them tabi. So you're going to need a pair of those, and then just a pair of cheap black flip-flops. You're going to need a sash, so you can either make one from just a little strip of cloth that's about 2 inches wide, or this is just a karate belt that I ordered online. So what do you wear under your armor? You can just wear a long sleeve shirt and a pair of baggy pants. That'll be fine. It'll look better if it's a bright color. I wanted my samurai clothing to look more like silk, so what I'm going to use is a pair of satin pajamas that I found in a Walmart. There are 2 different ways to make the helmet. Some people start with a toy army helmet and put strips around it to build up the neck guard. But what I'm going to do is make mine out of craft foam, and I started with a paper template, and I cut the pieces and taped them together until they fit just the way that I want them to. Now what I'm going to do is cut enough of these triangle shapes out of craft foam and attach them all together to make the dome of the helmet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I've cut out all the triangles that I needed from craft foam, and I taped them all together and put everything so that it fits just the way that I want it to. So the next thing I'm going to do is use fiberglass resin on the inside of the helmet to stiffen it and toughen it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I finished the dome for my helmet, so I'm going to add the neck protectors. I'm going to make those out of strips of poster board that I'm going to stiffen up with fiberglass resin. So now I've added the rim to my helmet, and I've coated the inside with 4 coats of fiberglass resin, and I've coated the outside with 2 coats of watered down Elmer's glue. That is to harden the foam a little bit and to coat it so that the paint won't sink in. So the next step is to go ahead and paint it. So this is the finished helmet. It's all painted. I have the ties that hold it on. I have my crest on the front here. And what I did was attach the crest with Velcro, and that way I can change it out and put a different crest on, and by doing that I can make the helmet look different. Now most samurai had an armored face mask that actually fits up inside the helmet to protect their face. And to duplicate that, I used just a plain old Halloween mask that I painted. And I got 2 of those. So by changing those out, I can also make the mask look different.